Children can live together and behave.
You let the parents know that you're taking what they're saying very, very seriously.
You see the kick, you see the bruise, you see the slap. You don't often see what goes before.
It is not his place to hit another student. It's not mine either.
I think it's one of the worst things that can happen to a teacher to be assaulted by a pupil.
How best can school bullies be stopped? The teaching professionals gathered here at London's Capital City Academy are not free to talk about actual cases for fear of breaking confidentiality clauses. So, they have agreed to discuss an imaginary case study about two pupils who bully in very different ways. The moderator is Professor Ted Wragg.
Now let me set the scene. Bill and Ben, two 5-year-old boys, just started school, reception class. The trouble is that Ben likes winding Bill up. And Bill's a big lad, and occasionally he retaliates. Now the question is, Dawn Steele, you're their class teacher, what are you going to do?
I'd want to know what's causing the problem between the pair and whether it's just a one-off incident or whether this has been going on for some time.
He started it, no he started it, he started it, no he started it.
Well, that's the joy of 5-year-olds. I don't want to sit them down together so that we can actually, talk about how they're both feeling and how the situation is making them both feel, and see if we can actually get some strategies that would work to see if we can make the situation a bit better.
Des O'Shea, you're the head of Binns End Primary School, where these two children attend. You've got a bullying policy, have you?
Certainly.
What does it say?
It's very clear and explicit about rewards and sanctions. Staff know that they are the first point of contact with the parents. If a situation arises and the staff are concerned that something needs to be dealt with and brought to my attention, I will then deal with it, meet with the parents, meet with the staff, meet with the children, try and unpick the problem. You often see the outcome of an incident. You see the kick, you see the bruise, you see the slap. You don't often see what goes before. And the process I would be working through with them is that they start with what did you do and what did you do? Not he pushed me, he shoved me. What did you do?
OK, Ben's dad's a lawyer. Does that make any difference?
No.
No difference at all?
I mean, it shouldn't make any difference.
He's 6 foot tall and a black belt at karate.
Then he's taller than I am. But I'm very reasonable, and I would hope that he's very reasonable, that we could sit down together and discuss it. But I would try and reassure them that I was doing everything possible. Sorting out a problem of bullying, a situation of bullying, cannot be cured overnight. If this is a deep case of real bullying, whether it be verbal, physical, it doesn't matter. It's bullying. If it's seen to be bullying in their eyes, we have to deal with it.
OK, it is bullying, because Ben's mum says, my son is being bullied, my son is being hit, my son's got bruises, and you're not doing anything about it.
I would explain that we were doing something about it because
Kick
we
him
would be
out
doing
of
something.
school. You can't have a violent boy. Why can't you just throw him out of the school?
I would explain that we were here to talk about her son. The other lad, I would discuss his situation with his parents. We have got to look at Ben. We are looking at what is causing some of these problems. It may be that he is in a situation where he is causing some of this to happen. Not through intent, but it may be that he has found a way to press some buttons to get a reaction from Bill, and it's really backfired. Now, I'd have to be absolutely open and honest with the parent.
So is there no blame then? Are you saying you wouldn't blame anybody?
Not at this point in time, until I'd really done a full investigation. I would need to explore it.
OK, let me bring in Nina Gill. You're a learning mentor and you meet a number of cases like this. So do you think it's right to have a kind of no-blame approach?
Certainly. I think initially you must adopt a no-blame approach. You need to use language that doesn't apportion blame to anybody. You cannot apportion blame until you've conducted thorough investigations. And you need to make sure that you tell the parents, you let the parents know that you're taking what they're saying very, very seriously.
OK, Maggie Bull, you're chair of the governing body of this school, and I come to you as Ben's mum or dad and I say, look, the school's not doing anything. What are you going to do?
I'm going to try and reason with the parent, and there are policies and procedures that have to be followed, and that it's got to be left in the hands of the head or whichever teacher's dealing with it.
OK, now, Margaret Wolven, you're a parent governor at the school and you're a friend of Ben's mum. I'm just being told procedures are being followed and then my Ben comes home with another bruise.
Well, and then in that case, and they're not happy with what the school are doing, they have a right to go to the LEA and to get them to step in. But we have to follow the policies that are given to us.
Now, Tony Brockman, you're a union rep and Dawn Steele is one of your members. And there's a suggestion now from Ben's mum that she's not competent.
On the basis of what we've heard so far, the school has behaved entirely professionally. I think the suggestion of involvement of the LEA at this stage is premature because the LEA would probably only refer it back to the school in any case. However, a parent does have the right to make a complaint, and that complaint would need to be investigated.
Dawn, they're both in year 5, so now they're getting a bit older, a bit bigger, they're 10 years old, and what's worse is that the story hasn't improved one jot. It comes and goes, but by and large, Ben still winds up at Bill, and Bill still from time to time will hit him.
Well, because the children have grown up and they've gone all the way through to year 5, it might be that we've got to look closely at their self-esteem. It might be, for example, that Billy's got problems going on outside school, maybe with older or younger siblings that we perhaps don't know about. So we really would have to get further to the root of the problem. And it might be that I speak to my line manager and suggest that we get the SEN coordinator to come in, and maybe that they need to go to a session sort of outside normal curriculum where they're talking about social skills.
SEN, says Mrs. Ben. He's not stupid, you know. We send him to school to learn to read and write, not to take part in the World Flyweight Championship.
I would explain to Mrs. Ben that SEN encompasses a whole range of things. So it's not being taken out of the classroom to go and do something because they're not academically bright enough. It's just using different strategies.
OK, let's bring Nina in. Is there anything you can do to help the school here?
Well, clearly there are issues, and I think that I can perfectly understand parents' concerns if suddenly they're faced with SEN issues when they don't actually believe that their children have any SEN issues. And I think that from a learning mentor point of view, my concerns would be that the parent at this stage will feel that the school has not actually listened to them. The school doesn't appear to be taking their claims or their allegations seriously at all.
So would you actually take the side of the child then against the school?
I wouldn't necessarily put myself in a position to be taking sides. I'd be acting on the edge of the institution, so to speak, and I'll be positioning myself that I can represent parent to the school as well as representing the school to the parent. But we need to make sure that parents do have confidence in the school system, because without parent confidence in the school system, it's going to be very, very difficult for us to move forward and establish a working relationship that is in the best interest of the child.
What would you do about Billy managing his anger?
For Billy, I would suggest that we put in place some anger management sessions.
Doing what?
Whereby we can work with Billy to talk about the feeling of anger. Where does it come from? And what do we do with anger? How do you direct your anger? He may decide that he wants time out in the classroom, and he might actually find that that time out gives him the space that he needs to calm down and to re-establish himself within the classroom framework.
OK, let's see where these things stand on a scale. I mean, Dawn, from your point of view, you're a primary teacher, and children are calling each other names. OK, and these are mildly insulting about each other. How do you react to that?
Name calling is not okay in any shape or form, and the whole class, the whole school needs to know that, and that needs to be again part of the ethos of the school, that certain behaviour is not acceptable in the school.
Ben calls Bill a fat slob. What are you going to do?
That's not good. That's name calling, so that's bullying.
Bill clips Ben back of the head, little flip.
Totally unacceptable. You know, children can't hit each
Is
other.
that at
in
the very
school.
bad end or somewhere in the middle, or unacceptable but very serious, medium serious?
Name calling, hitting, it is all a form of bullying. So, you know, and certainly, you know, violence is totally unacceptable in the classroom.
Okay, let's go back to Nina.
I think that at this stage I'd need to be speaking to my colleagues who I work with, because I'm very concerned that there doesn't seem to be a clear consensus around what bullying actually is. Now, name calling, as my head has already pointed out, is a form of bullying, and no form of name calling is acceptable. This is what I've been told by my line manager. But I hear name calling going on all the time, and it's not always addressed by teachers. I have pupils coming to me all the time saying, I've been called names in the playground, but nothing has been done about it. I think we need to start addressing a whole school policy so that everybody understands and there's a general consensus about what bullying is, what forms it takes, and how the school will be addressing it.
Anything going on the files, Des? Would you be inserting over the last year or two little notes, or would you leave it, or would you...
No, I'd be logging everything, because when you meet parents, you want to have all the information possible. I've found that parents feel more comfortable if I'm making notes. I always ask, would you mind? I'm just making notes because I will not remember all of this conversation, and it's very important that it's logged, because I also feel that that gives them the confidence that we are doing something about it, that we were taking it seriously. But I would log and keep a record, because I feel that that would help avoid some of the situations further down the line.
Well, let me bring in some governors and see how this would play with them. Margaret, are you happy with what's happening so far? Because you're a friend of Ben's mum, and Ben's mum keeps saying to you, I feel absolutely impotent. I get this professional wall. All these people are telling me they've got policies and they're implementing them. It's terribly reasonable.
I'm not happy because I don't think it should have taken this length of time. It should have been sorted by the head with the staff before now.
But they've tried everything and it didn't work.
Well, obviously they haven't tried hard enough. There's a mistake somewhere has been made. And if they cannot get it right, they've then got to go further to discover what they can do to make it better. Children can live together and behave. If they
What
can't...
about the hardcore group for whom apparently nothing seems to be working?
Then I think you have to go down the route of possible suspension for a short time. I don't. If they're
Who would you suspend? Ben, Bill, both?
both,
You'd suspend them both?
yes, I would.
And you think that would be fair enough because they're
Because if they're-
misbehaving on a consistent basis?
Yes, they're both misbehaving. They're both doing it to each other. If you suspend both of them, then they realise what's going on. Parents will obviously need to be informed as to why they're being suspended. The classroom, all the rest of the
Bit
class
of a
will need
stigma
to be
though,
informed.
young people, primary age, suspended in primary school, blot on your career.
Yes, but if you're hitting somebody and then it could be even worse because you could hurt somebody.
Okay. Now, Maggie Bull, you're chair of governors. Time to review the bullying policy or let things go a bit longer?
First of all, I think governors have actually got a very important role to play in this sort of situation, because you can, for a start, as far as the parent's concerned, be somebody else to shout at, you know, apart from the head or the teacher involved. And you can give a lot of support to the school. I would have expected a good behaviour or bullying policy to actually have an escalating set of situations, with it being made very clear what the sanctions are, dependent on how many times you commit, for example, a certain offence.
Okay, let's complicate it a bit. Susan Tranter, you're head of the secondary school, and Billy's got 4 older brothers and sisters, and they're members of your secondary school. And one day, you're walking past the primary school, after school, and you notice that these 4 children, your pupils, have gone to collect Billy, because his mum's got a baby, and what's more, they're kind of throwing their weight around a bit. Are you going to do anything about it?
Yes, I am. I'm going to go up to them and start a conversation with them.
Okay, and they say, you see Ben over there? He's always winding our kid up. We're just coming to give him a bit of support, that's all. not doing anything. Honest, miss.
I said, I think Mr. O'Shea would really prefer it if you waited for your little brother outside at the front gate, and I'll see what I can do, because I know Mr. O'Shea very, very well.
Now, Des, now it's your birthday. They're coming up to the end of year 6. At long last, you and Dawn have booked a dinner out together to celebrate goodbye, Bill and Ben. And you're transferring them now to Susan's school, the secondary school. What are you going to tell Susan and her colleagues about this history?
The situation's arisen within the school that we've got this situation with Bill and Ben. Now, I realise the older brothers and sisters are in your school. How do you find their relationships, one with one another and with other students in your school?
We haven't had any problems with them so far. One of them has been on the edge of things on occasions, but certainly that they're very they all stick up for one another, and they are quite defensive of one another. But we've never had any incidents where they've been involved in any kind of aggression with one another.
I mean, Bill is learning this behaviour somewhere. It's learned behaviour, and I've got quite a few concerns about this. I want to start unpicking this with the parents, but I want to be very careful and tactful, because maybe it's coming, maybe from Dad, maybe from an older brother, maybe from a neighbour. Does he spend a lot of time in the street with other lads older than him? I've got to try and find out a reason for his behaviour in school.
OK, now, I'm Ben's dad, the lawyer. And we're back at the application stage now in year 6, where Ben and Bill are applying for places. And these schools are quite popular, so it might be quite hard to get our children in. So I want to make sure that you are not going to pass on a very incriminating file to Susan about my dear son Ben. So I demand disclosure. I would like to see what you've got on my son Ben.
No problem at all.
I can see the lot.
You can see the lot.
Every single note that you've ever written about.
Yes, on Ben. Not on
Ben.
Bill, on Ben. Everything that I've written, everything that we've discussed, all the minutes of all our meetings are in his file. And it's available for you to look through.
And you're quite happy if the other teachers may not have put a little note in that you wish weren't in there? Would you scrutinise it first to make sure the file doesn't have a little note saying,
well, I would hope that
Ben's dad's a bit of a funny chap and Ben's mum's slimy?
I think as part
Shouldn't
of the
have done it, but they did.
I think as the school policy, any notes, any records that any member of staff kept that was passed on into this file would pass by me in the first place, because that would be part of the school policy.
So you're absolutely confident that you can take the file without any scrutiny and say, here you are, Mr. Ben,
I would check
it's all
the
yours.
file, but I would hope, and I would...
A little bit
I
of
would challenge
weeding here and there?
No, I think I'd be challenging some of my staff if I found notes that should not have been in there.
What would you do with them?
The notes. I certainly wouldn't show them to the dad, but I would discuss it in very
We can
strong
demand
terms with the member
disclosure. I
staff.
demand disclosure. I want to see it. It's in my file. Data protection and all that. Going to throw them away? Burn them?
I would hold on to them as evidence towards the other member of staff, I think.
Okay.
I think there'd be other issues in my school that I needed to sort out.
Right, Andrea, you're head of year 7. And you've got Bill and Ben coming. How much do you want to know about this background? Do you want to know all of it, or just the bit about their achievements in school, or what?
No, I need to know as much as possible. As soon as they enter year 7, we go step by step with them, because we don't want to see the same thing happening again in secondary school that happened in primary school. So take them, and we're going to find out as much as possible about them, and we're going to deal with this on our side.
What's your reaction to that, Susan, as head of the secondary school?
We would know something about them, and I think probably our head of year would probably keep that information to herself or just share it with a small number of people, but they would both have that clean start.
OK, Andrea, you get Bill and Ben in your class. Before long, you discover that one or two things are going wrong. Bill, for example, seems very disorganised. He hasn't brought his PE kit, except he says he has. He hasn't got his homework, but he says he did have it. What are you going to do?
Well, the first thing I'll have to, if I give him a warning for the first incident. The first incident, that's a warning. The second incident, I'll have to put him on a report. If it's a continuous one, you're coming, not bringing any kit. Today you don't have any kit. Tomorrow, no kit, no nothing. Well, something is definitely wrong. If I ring the parent and the parent inform me that this child doesn't have a problem with the kit, I bought the kit for the child. The child just doesn't want to do PE or just doesn't want to do dance. Well, that's really an issue. Because the parents tell me they have the kit for them and they're not using
You got the kit, you ring the parents, they got the kit, done the homework, can't understand it. You did it.
Well, if that's what he says at home and we're seeing something differently, well, the two stories just doesn't agree. I know there is no truth to it. I have records of it. No homework was handed in. There is none in the book. There is none marked. So I am aware that this is a situation where lies are being told. And I'm not the one who is telling it.
Well, a friend of Billy's comes to see you and says, Miss, I need to tell you something. Ben has managed to get into Bill's locker and he's been stealing his things to get him into trouble. So he did bring his kit, but Ben nicked it. And he did do his homework, but Ben removed it.
Okay, well, I would have to investigate that matter because if that really happens, it is unacceptable. And that is a sign of bullying also. If the argument is really true that the things were stolen, well, there's a need for some sort of punishment.
So on this occasion, Ben is the bully.
Yes.
And supposing Billy hits him, who's the bully then? Because he's now got into real trouble, but then it turns out he shouldn't have been in trouble at all.
It is not his place to hit another student. It's not mine either. The thing, you're having a problem with another student, you know where you should go. You need to find your teachers, you need to find your mentors, you need to find the adults there to deal with this situation. You need to find them to assist you. You don't hit another child.
Nina, Ben has stolen Bill's property, Bill's got into trouble, Bill's thumped him. On that specific issue, what would you do?
Well, with the theft issue alone, I think that's clearly, there's a behaviour policy that outlaws theft within the school. We need to be implementing our behaviour policy.
Just a joke, miss. Just a joke.
It's
didn't
a
really
joke.
steal it. Didn't want his kid.
It's a joke that we are
just
not
a joke.
It's a joke that we're not laughing at. Do you see us laughing? We're taking this very, very seriously.
Someone hid my PE kit in the toilets, and I was in trouble. It's just the sort of thing kids do to each other.
This may be happening, and it
just
may
having
not,
a laugh.
You got caught. And you've been caught in the act, and you will need to be disciplined. As learning mentor, I'm not going to be disciplining the child. I would expect the school's behaviour policy to be implemented. With the retaliation, the hitting, that's clearly an act of retaliation. And I think that I wouldn't define that in the same way that I would define bullying at all.
Tony, you're my union rep. Teachers now beginning to grumble, and in fact this teacher's going to his union and saying, nothing new about this. We knew about this when they came in from primary school.
It might be that we made a request for further support for the children, whether from, depending on what the school's resources were, the learning mentors have already been involved. There might be a need for the involvement of behaviour support team, professional support of that kind.
Okay, so one day, in a classroom, Bill and Ben get into a fight. Now the problem is that it's not just a fight between Bill and Ben, because Ben, although normally Bill does the thumping and Ben does the winding up, Ben loses it completely now, and he grabs a chair and he's about to go and hit Bill with the chair. Would you advise any teacher to go anywhere near that?
The policy is that they should first of all issue an instruction, Ben, stop that. Put the
Ben's
chair
lost
down.
it.
Ben,
He's
stop
away.
that. And make it absolutely clear that they are requiring, and then say to the child, if you do not put that chair down, I will come and remove it from you.
Okay, as he swings the chair, he hits the teacher. I was trying to hit Bill, he says. I didn't mean to hit the teacher.
Well, the fact that he was given a direct instruction by a teacher and was told to desist, and that the teacher was taking action to do that, makes it very, very serious indeed, because not only was the child threatening violence towards another one, but was defying the the instruction designed to prevent that act of violence, and so it makes it a very serious incident indeed.
So is he going to be out? Are you going to kick him out?
Of course, a permanent exclusion is a very, very serious sanction and should not be taken in the heat of the moment. And so
Just thumped a teacher?
As I say, it's not something that should ever be taken in the heat of the moment. If you read Section 1099, then that is...
OK, you've read Section 1099, you deliberated for 6 months, are you going to kick him out?
Oh, well, don't take that long.
He's actually thumped the teacher. What are you going to do now?
That would be, in my view, that would be a permanent exclusion.
The bad news is that although mobile phones are supposed to be banned, one of the pupils, who's a friend of Ben's, has actually got a mobile phone with a camera. And he takes a picture, and the picture shows the teacher crouched over Ben and a broken chair. And the teacher's now very worried because it might be argued that he'd actually attacked Ben. What are you going to say to the teacher?
I think it's one of the worst things that can happen to a teacher to be assaulted by a pupil, and so there's going to be a need for counselling, and we've got witness statements from other children in the class. So we're absolutely clear about what's happened, and of course Bill and Ben also have to have the opportunity to put their side, and certainly
but Ben's dad's a lawyer, and what's more, Ben's uncle is a journalist. And he can get £1,000 for this photograph. He can go to the Times Educational Supplement and get £2,000. No, probably not. But, you know, this is going to be in the press now. Aren't we in deep trouble?
We're not in deep trouble if we've done everything that's required of us. And of course, if they decide to print things which aren't true, then there are laws to protect schools and the individuals.
You're a very brave woman. Let's move 10 years ahead. 10 years ahead. And now they're 25. Bill, big bloke, prop forward for the England Rugby 15. OBE won the World Cup. Ben is now a press officer at the DFES. And you're going home one night, sit down, watch television. There's an advertising campaign for the teaching profession. No one ever forgets a good teacher. And there you see Bill and Ben saying, I owe it all to my teachers. I won't ask you how you feel about that. Thanks very much.